When we think of the American Industrial Revolution, we often picture massive factories and smoking chimneys. But behind these images stands one man whose innovations changed manufacturing forever. This is the story of Eli Whitney, inventor, entrepreneur, and the father of modern mass production. It's 1775, and 10-year-old Eli Whitney stands by his family's Massachusetts farm, watching Revolutionary War soldiers thunder past on horseback, heading to Concord. One day, a group stops for water, and young Eli seizes the opportunity. He asks about their guns, fascinated as a soldier demonstrates how the weapon works. But Eli doesn't return to his farm chores. Instead, he slips into the workshop, watching the blacksmith heat iron and hammer it into horseshoes. When no one's looking, he practices with the tools, teaching himself the craft of metalworking. At 15, Eli overhears his father and neighbors complaining about a critical wartime shortage: nails. The British blockade has cut off their usual supply. "I will make some nails," young Eli declares, and he does. For 2 years, he ran his own nail factory right on the farm, making each nail by hand. Business booms, and he even hires a helper. But when peace came in 1783, so did cheap British machine-made nails. Eli's handmade nails can't compete, and he closes his factory. It's his first lesson in the brutal economics of manufacturing, a lesson he'll never forget. At 23, Whitney enters Yale College. To help pay his way, he takes a job with the college carpenter. Despite having no formal training, his natural skill impresses everyone. The carpenter tells him he'd make an excellent mechanic. But Whitney has other plans. He wants to be a lawyer. When Whitney graduated in 1793, he didn't have money for law school, so he accepts a teaching position on a Georgia plantation. On the boat to Savannah, he meets Catherine Greene, widow of Revolutionary War General Nathaniel Greene. They strike up a friendship that will change history. Upon arrival, disaster strikes. The man who hired Whitney offers only half the promised salary. Angry and discouraged, Whitney confides in Mrs. Greene. She invites him to stay at her plantation while he figures out his next move. To show his gratitude, Whitney makes repairs and invents clever gadgets for kitchen work. He fixes broken watches. Mrs. Greene is impressed and introduces him to her influential friends. One evening changes everything. Several plantation owners gather for dinner, former officers who served with General Greene. They complain about their biggest problem: cotton seeds. Each fluffy cotton boll contains tiny seeds that cling stubbornly to the fibers. It takes one person an entire day to clean just 1 pound of cotton. "If only we had a machine to remove the seeds," one man sighs, "our troubles would be over." Whitney's mind races. The solution seems obvious. Wires could pull the cotton through a screen, leaving the seeds behind. A hand-cranked mechanism could power it all. In just 10 days, Whitney designs and builds his cotton engine, soon shortened to cotton gin. The machine can clean 50 pounds of cotton a day, 50 times faster than human hands. Whitney partners with Mrs. Greene's plantation manager. They'll manufacture cotton gins and make a fortune. He sends drawings to Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson, who grants him a patent, 14 years of exclusive rights. But triumph quickly turns to tragedy. News spreads fast, too fast. Men begin copying and selling the cotton gin illegally. Whitney spends years in court, draining his resources. His partner dies. His factory burns down. Yellow fever kills his workers. By the time he wins his legal battles, his patent has expired. The cotton gin transforms the South and makes cotton king, but Eli Whitney sees barely a penny from his invention. Whitney is a good enough businessman to know when to cut his losses. He turns to a new venture: manufacturing guns. In 1798, guns were made by skilled craftsmen, one at a time. Each part is custom fitted. If a piece breaks, a gunsmith must create a replacement specifically for that weapon. It's slow, expensive, and inefficient. Whitney has a radical idea. What if all the parts of different guns were exactly alike? What if they were interchangeable? A broken part could simply be swapped out. The key would be creating iron guides, patterns, so that thousands of identical parts could be produced. Excited, Whitney takes his plans to the War Department in Washington. His reputation from the cotton gin precedes him. The government hired him to deliver 10,000 guns in 2 years. 10 New Haven citizens, believing in Whitney's genius, lend him money to build a factory. On the outskirts of New Haven, by the Mill River, Whitney purchases land, today called Whitneyville. He plans to harness the river's power for his machinery. Workers began building a dam to create a stronger waterfall. Whitney orders iron guides from a nearby shop. He arranges for tons of iron from a mine. Everything is falling into place. He's confident he can meet his deadline. Then winter arrives early and brutally. One morning, Whitney looks out to see a blizzard raging. He rushes to the river. It's frozen solid. Work on the dam stops. The iron shop closes. His machine's frozen. The mine can't dig iron from the frozen ground. By June, Whitney's factory stands empty. Not one guide has arrived. Not a pound of iron has been delivered. His money is running out, and he's supposed to deliver 4,000 guns by September. Desperate, Whitney writes to Washington, explaining the catastrophic winter. One sympathetic official convinces the government to loan him money. Finally, spring arrives. The dam is completed. Guides arrive. Iron comes from the mine. Whitney gathers his workers. "I'm going to show you a new way of manufacturing," he announces, "a way that has never been tried before." He explains his revolutionary concept. Instead of one man making an entire gun, each worker will make one small part. Each man will master his specific task and work quickly. The parts will be assembled on a line, with each worker adding his component until at the end, a complete gun emerges. It's the birth of the assembly line, though that term won't be coined for another century. But the War Department grows impatient. A letter arrives threatening to cancel the contract unless Whitney can explain his delays. He knows he must act. Whitney travels to Washington carrying multiple boxes, each filled with gun parts. He arranges a demonstration before government officials, including Thomas Jefferson himself. Some officials are skeptical. They believe guns can't be made this way. Whitney calmly opens each box and assembles a gun while they watch. Still, some suspect trickery. An army officer asks to choose the parts himself. To everyone's amazement, the randomly selected parts fit together perfectly, creating a fully functional weapon. Jefferson, himself an inventor, recognizes the brilliance of Whitney's method. He convinces the group to have faith. 8 years after starting his gun factory, in 1807, Whitney shipped the final guns to Washington. He's 52 years old and has finally achieved success. He paid his debts. His business becomes profitable. Eli Whitney died in 1825, but his legacy lives forever. Today, virtually every factory in the world uses Whitney's methods. Hundreds, even thousands of identical parts are made from guides and patterns, then assembled on production lines. From automobiles to computers, from furniture to smartphones, everything we manufacture follows principles that Eli Whitney pioneered. The boy who watched soldiers ride past his farm, who taught himself metalworking in secret, who turned disappointment into innovation. That boy changed the world. So what can we learn from Eli Whitney's remarkable journey? Whitney didn't just make things better. He reimagined how things could be made. He challenged the assumption that each gun must be crafted individually. He dared to see a future that didn't yet exist. What assumptions are you accepting without question? What impossible ideas are you afraid to pursue? Now I have some questions for you. What problem in your life, your work, or your community could you solve with fresh thinking? When failure comes, and it will come, will you quit, or will you pivot like Whitney did? What skill are you teaching yourself right now, even when no one is watching, just like that young boy in the workshop? And most importantly, what legacy do you want to leave behind? Eli Whitney changed the world, not because he was the smartest or the most educated, but because he was curious, persistent, and willing to think differently. You have that same power within you. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more motivational stories of people who changed the world against all odds. On this channel, we bring you tales of innovation, persistence, and triumph that will fuel your own journey to greatness. Your story could be next. Until then, remember, someone somewhere thought of it first. Why not let that someone be you? Thank you for watching.